So, ladies and gentlemen, Ralf Späth's my name. I'm from ABB up in Västerås. I have to excuse myself for my voice. I hope it sticks together these 5 minutes. I just finished off a halstablett. Läkedol. In the contrary of many other very interesting presentations, I will not speak about a single product or solution. I will initially start about a problem or a challenge that not only we here in Sweden have, but also globally. The thing is, we are facing an energy conversion. We here in Sweden, we have done quite a lot of our homework, but we are not home free, not at all. And of course, representing the company I do, we do also have solutions for this, the ABB solutions. We have to remember that not only Sweden, not only EU, globally, we have accepted this 20-20-20, reducing the carbon monoxide by 20% till 2020, increasing the renewable energy generation by 20% and all that. But also, or despite this, there are trends pointing out that the energy need globally will increase by 50%, 50% until 2030. That's a great challenge, and that's of course coming from the developing countries. There's no question about that. But there are of course solutions, and a lot of this is new production methods. Investing in renewable energy. For Sweden, of course, as very much here in the southern parts, but also up in the northern parts, wind power. For other areas, solar power is very, very interesting, and I'm quite sure that will also happen here in Sweden. Solar power will come more interesting when we will have a technical step forward, a change, and also in the cost for these. But also the distribution methods, the smart grid. We need today, as I mentioned, we have our hydropower up north. We have wind power park up north, but also along the coastline. But where do we have the consumption? It's spread all over. And then we could also need new utilization methods. There is a large amount of new power needed for electrical cars. So there is a guy, or there's an organization or whatever, who has a challenge. It's this guy, Svenska Kraftnät. He has, by law, a challenge to balance the grid. And today he does that very much with the production in the grid and not by the consumption. But we have to remember that here in Sweden, even though we have done a lot of our homework when it comes to renewable power or electricity generation, we do have a target of putting in 12,000 megawatts of wind. 12,000. And wind, as you all know, is not, when it comes to timing, so reliable. The amount of wind is quite predictable, but not always exactly when it's coming. And the thing is, to put that in perspective, this 12,000 megawatts, is that the fact that we have a nuclear power source in Sweden of approximately 9,000 megawatts when it's up and running. It is. I regretted that comment immediately when I said that. The blue field here, what's that? That's our hydropower. That's our hydropower, which also is used for a balance power for us in Sweden. But the thing is that Sweden and Norway pretty much represent 50% of the total balance power in Europe. So we are anxious to sell a lot of the power. And the yellow here, that could be dirt in the PowerPoint, that is the wind today. That's the wind today. So, for this, a scope of the whole picture that we have in a whole society is, of course, an application or a solution called a smart grid. A smart grid where actually the grid from the power sources communicate with, for instance, loads according to a demand response setup. If you have communication from the power generating side down to the loads that could be houses, apartments, industries, whatever, and these two communicate. We are actually doing this. We are doing this up a couple of 100 miles north of here in Stockholm, Stockholm Royal Seaport, where we actually are building. We are not in 10,000 apartments, but we are in a project with 400 apartments together with NCC, GM, and we have KTH as a partner, Interactive Institute, and so on. So, last slide. I understand that you're standing up for what that means. The offerings, I initially said we're not talking products, but all the packages that we have the possibility to put in a solution of this. And last, the very last slide, and then of course ABB in Sweden, who we are. I hope we are not too anonymous. 8,700 employees in 30 cities. I should not say here, but a couple of kilometers south of here, and 220 employees in Malmö. And of course, last, to learn more, abb.se infrastructure.
Thank you. So now we have smart power production, smart grids. We only need smart people.
Exactly.
Yeah. Questions?
Yes, I have one. How and where should ESS implement the smart grids?
In any demand response application, I would say, there's a lot of square meters coming in. What we have to detect is, of course, loads that are controllable. Building is definitely a controllable load. We heard earlier about how much you will have in co-generation and collecting the extra heat that you are producing, and so on. Can this be out of balanced power? What we're doing in apartments in Stockholm is, of course, very, very small scale. We are looking at washing machines. We are looking at freezers, but coming also then the EV charging of the electrical vehicles. Very, very interesting would be when we come in also to the heating of apartments, building, offices, and so on.
Tack så mycket.